for the cross-county connector this morning, the ID number 2180. I believe it's in board docs again. And I think it was Commissioner Collins's request that we take $1 million from one of these projects that maybe were inactive and appropriate that to the cross-county connector to keep the project open. Now, I'm not sure if there's consensus to do that, but we were providing additional information so that the commissioners could pick a project, identify the funds, or not transfer anything and approve the budget transfer. So that's what's before you. We're happy to answer, and we're going to keep John here in case there are any more questions on the other projects.
So there's $719,367 that has been spent as of December 31st.
That's correct.
Of the $4,283,377.
Yes.
Okay. But based on what you're telling us, Mr. Stevens, they're all going forward. So to suddenly yank $1 million out of there would slow things down. Do I have that right? Or can you identify something that we may have missed?
Well, those projects that I briefly touched on, they are more or less underway, and it would slow it down. However, there are some others that were included in this, the distribution of the Cross County connectors that I didn't go over. And for various reasons, we're more or less at a standstill for some of those projects. And I just wanted to point that out so we can be clear on that. The detention center intake, for one. It's
okay. Hold on, let me get to my sheet here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. It's on the first page. It's right. Line number 5.
Now, this is one of the projects that also, it's only, we only had $166,000 in it for FY13, which we haven't utilized any of that yet, and it's another $806,000 scheduled for FY14. Now, in talking with and working with the Sheriff's Department and discussing it with my project team, we are about to embark on a design concept. And we really can't move forward past the design concept until we have all of the money appropriated, basically the FY14 and FY15 funding. So I guess what I'm saying that we really can't move forward to complete the project until FY15 when we have all of the funding.
Is there any way you could perhaps give us a list of those projects that you...
Yes, because I have it here, and I can I developed a list, and I can give it to you.
I have a suggestion. If the board decides that we want to move $1 million to the Cross County Connector project, then you guys can just sit down and decide how you want to do it. I mean, is that agreeable? I mean, because it seems like we're just, you would know what stage they're in, and you would know which ones
absolutely. It's for various reasons. Some projects we can't move forward to until we get all of the funding anyway. So it's just a matter, and that's a fiscal decision as far as loading up one project in one year, and freeing up others. And a lot of times, if I need $4 million of a project to ease the burden, I would just spread it out over 2 or 4 years.
Mr. Stevens, for ease of sake, could we take a look at the Billingsley Road improvements again?
Yes.
That's line item number 26. You have $12 million in that project. Could you potentially take part of that FY15 funding? I mean, it would still allow you to move forward, and then in FY15, when we adopted the budget, if we needed additional funding, we could transfer some monies around. I mean, I don't know that it would stop that project completely to take $1 million out of that.
Well, Ms. Hudson, I think that's a good suggestion because, one, we haven't done the study to see the safety improvements, and this was more or less just an order of magnitude estimate to try to get a handle on how much the improvements would cost. So this is really without any science or math or technical data behind it. So to move that, I don't think it'll affect the project at all.
Thank you.
We're looking at the Billingsley Road improvement.
I'm looking at item number 26.
Right.
Most of the cross-county connector funds went into that particular project. It houses the majority of the funds, and I believe what Mr. Stevens is saying is when we put that project in, those were rough estimates, and he is in the design phase, and so we could take $1 million of that FY15 money, put it into your cross-county connector.
For 14, correct?
We're looking at Billingsley Road improvements.
Yes, on the first item in board docs, the original spreadsheet that we were going over.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Now, you're saying for FY15, there's $4 million.
Yes, and I'm not suggesting moving $1 million into FY14. I'm suggesting put $1 million in for cross-county connector in 15 in the same year so that the funding would remain stable over the CIP, because I think what I've heard from Commissioner Collins and Mr. Groth and the likelihood of any movement within the next 12 months is not great. And Mr. Stevens has also said that that particular project had some rough estimates to it, and if we got to FY15, after he does his design work in 14 and he needs additional funds, we could reappropriate $1 million to Billingsley Road.
Okay. Commissioner Robinson?
Sure. Thank you. Okay, a little reality check time.
Yes. Okay.
This project is not on hold. It was killed.
Yes.
Permits were denied by both the state and federal government, and this board chose not to appeal those denials based on the advice of counsel, saying that the odds were slim to none that we would win in such an appeal. You just presented 6 viable transportation projects, and then there were 25 previous projects, other projects rather, on the previous page. That's a lot of projects that we've got going because we're not allocating funds to a road that was denied. So I question why we would want to, as you just mentioned, Ms. Hudson, no activity is expected because this road doesn't exist. Why would we put $1 million in a placeholder? The question isn't for you. It's rhetorical.
Thank you.
Commissioner
I appreciate that comment at the end.
Commissioner Collins?
If you recall what happened at that time, when there was a response from the state and we received information from the federal government regarding the actual permit, there was an additional option which we, as a board, suggested would not be appropriate at this time. It was provided to us information that we had the option of reapplying. Part of the reasoning in determining that it was probably not a viable option to pursue an appeal was because it was an administrative appeal, and generally speaking, the standard is extremely high to go beyond what had been ruled upon by an actual administrative agency. Part of the presentation and information we received from staff was that there was a recognition that we probably would be denied the permit because there was additional information that had been requested from the state. And we were well aware that we didn't have all of that information. So one of the options was to actually consider reapplying, after we let the dust settle to some degree. I mean, I guess what I'm suggesting, and I wanted to make the point that I was referring to the $1 million in FY14. And part of my thinking is to align this budget request with projects that are essentially consistent with some of the goals related to the cross-county connector, which is improving transportation in that Billingsley Road corridor. And so looking at the Billingsley Road improvement money seems like a likely place to at least consider my request, as well as the Mill Hill Road upgrade. And as was stated by staff, I don't see where there would be a discernible difference in terms of actually slowing down any of these projects if we were to do that. Because I think at the end of the day, I'm certainly of the understanding that there's no immediate opportunity for the cross-county connector to move forward. But from my perspective, and I know everybody doesn't agree with that, but from my perspective, still maintaining that as part of our CIP is a priority.
Commissioners, any other comments?
I have one more.
Commissioner Robinson?
In the process of going through the denials, if you will, from MDE and the U.S. Army Corps, it was pointed out in a prior letter from the Corps of Engineers, I think dating back to 2009, the hints were there. The Army Corps of Engineers was suggesting a partnership between the county and the state on widening the already cross-county connector of Maryland Route 228. So in 2012, when the denial came down, or it might have even been in 2011, I don't remember at this point, it was pretty clear where they stood. So I don't think it was a great surprise that it was denied. And reapplying, using the same route and the same sensitive environmental areas that it would go through, we would be just wasting taxpayer money. And I realize that right now we're not talking about spending money, we're just talking about placeholding money. It probably doesn't matter because, as Mr. Stevens pointed out, we're not going to spend $12 million on Billingsley Road anytime in the next 12 months. But I'd still like to see our CIP project be based on reality.
Well, just to sort of close this out, we all know how this is going to go, but you've heard the saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. We've spent $35 million of our citizens' money. We've been told that this road, the way it's currently aligned, isn't going to happen. We were told in 2009, we were given some ideas of how we could realign it. We talk a lot about transportation safety on Billingsley Road. This isn't about transportation. This is about a small group of developers who own land there and who need to have transportation access so that they can meet their adequate public facilities requirements. I think whether it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is, to spend another dime of county citizens' money until we as a group have had a chance to really consider, do we want to look at a new alignment? We talked in our goals and objectives about having a way for developers to share the costs of infrastructure and what have you. I think it's irresponsible. As I said, we've already spent $35 million. How do you explain that when we haven't gotten to the heart of the problem, which is what exactly can we do to give our citizens east-west transportation in a way that is going to be approvable? But so I guess the question is, are you looking to see if there's a majority of the board who wants to take this $1 million and put it in as a placeholder? I would think that's what you need now.
Yes, that was in relation, though, originally to the budget transfer. We were getting ready to do the budget transfer this morning, so
right. Which we can still come back to. Right now, right, I think you need guidance on whether or not we're going to take $1 million
from a project,
from the Billingsley Road project, and put it in for FY15, if I heard everybody correctly, FY14 for the cross-county connector. Now, we don't know what we're going to do with it. We're just going to put it there.
And that would effectively lower the budget transfer to $30,278,210. It currently sits at $31,278,210.
Again, that was my request for 2014, $1 million, consistent with projects that are associated with Billingsley Road improvements and the Mill Hill Road upgrade, and to allocate $1 million to go towards the cross-county connector.
So do you want to make a motion?
And I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Rucci. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Aye. Opposed. Okay, thank you. And do you need any?
Well, can we do the budget transfer then? So
yes.
This was the particular item that was needed to happen before we did this.
I think, Commissioners, if you'll go back to your approval items, you have a...
we actually have it right there in the right under the cross-county connector list.
Thank
Denise
you.
was very efficient.
Thorough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Behind
Denise.
the scenes, yes.
Okay, so there it is. And now we're going to change this by $1 million?
$1 million.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's going to be $30 million?
Yes.
So is there a motion to approve this budget amendment decrease in the amount of $30,278,210?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed.
Okay, Commissioners. So, did we want to go back and review the